You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Welcome to Cornhusker Corner with Blake.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm Brooks.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these two brothers know how to handle business.
Here's a hand up to Thunder, who gives it back to Mike Stokes. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out. Yeah! 40. It is very close. 15, 10, 5.
Right, welcome to Cornhusker Corner, where there's no place like this podcast. As always, we're your host Blake and my brother Brooks. Please like and subscribe to this video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I do that every single time.
Classic. Honestly, subscribe to the video if you can.
Yeah, subscribe to the video.
That'd be sweet.
Follow us on X at @CHusker_corner and Instagram Cornhusker Corner. All right, we are back for our kind of midweek podcast here. I'm gonna give our little previews for the Michigan State game. Coming off the win last week against Purdue. To put it mildly, expectations are high now, which is always great to be let down.
To remind you from last week, we are on a win streak. We are on a 3-game win streak. And what we figured out about being on a win streak is when you play the win streak music, the good win streak music, the entire show gets pulled off of YouTube. So if you're one of the people, the 6 to 12 people who look and see our live streams on the live tab of our YouTube channel, that's where you'll find the full shows. If you're interested on the full video versions of the shows, that's where they are. Yeah, it got pulled off last episode because we played Holly's Long Cool Woman as our win streak music. So unfortunately, when we win again this weekend, we will go ahead and play one as a placeholder. So as soon as you hear this song that I'm about to play, just picture Holly's Long Cool Woman, and then we'll be able to do it. So.
So this
We can play as much of this one as we want, you know.
So that's all right. So that's gonna be our win streak music every time we go on a win streak. Okay, I'm gonna implement a rule then. It has to be 3 or longer.
Yeah, of course.
2
doesn't make a streak. That's common knowledge. 2 doesn't make a streak. 3 is a streak. 2 is 2 wins in a row. That's different.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's the new win streak music.
All right.
Yes, and I just found that about 5 minutes ago, and that's why I was laughing so hard when you came back into the channel. Yes.
Well, it's better than the alternative, which just I thought you made it. So
no. No. I've made much worse than this. This is better than anything I've made.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry to derail the first 5 minutes of the show, but
yeah, wow,
that was funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spirits
so Michigan State week.
Yeah.
Spirits are high. We just played the awesome win streak music, and here we are. We're 5. We have 5 wins on the year. We're ready to go to a bowl. It's almost time. We have 4 games left. We got to get one out of these 4 games, and the most winnable one is coming up this Saturday, 11 a.m. in East Lansing, Michigan. East Lansing, right? That's.
I don't know.
Yeah, East Lansing. Yeah. The other. Where does Michigan play? Ann Arbor. Yes. Yeah. So yes. But yeah. So this is the most winnable game, and it's just a favorable matchup across the board. I mean, and we can just go ahead and get into the straight preview of it. I have some things written down as far as them as a team, but even with the injuries, I want to say this before I start on Michigan State. Even with the injuries, I think our offense sort of proved last week that they can win games. Like if they're firing at full cylinders and taking care of the ball, we can win games with them. So no matter what I say about Michigan State, at the end of the day, like, they're the level of team that we show up, we play clean football, we play hard, we play 4 quarters of FU football, is what Will Compton would say. And I think we can get it done pretty easily, and none of us will be really worried that much. But so their offense. Michigan State, obviously, is – Bill Busch is on record saying they're possibly the worst locker room environment in the country this year, just based on everything that's happened in their program. Mark D'Antonio's come on, the old coach Mark D'Antonio. He's come on as a consultant. He's not the head coach. That guy is a guy named Barnett, Coach Barnett. I don't know much about him, to be honest with you, but pretty much it's a bad environment in their locker room because all the coaches know that they're going to be gone at the end of the year, and pretty much all the players know that the coaches are going to be gone by the end of the year. So all of them are trying to figure out where they're going to go, and the focus is just probably not on football. Now, granted, this is their last home game. This is their senior day, and really, if you look at their schedule, it's their last. Like, they play us, they play Ohio State, Indiana, and it's their last real win. That could be a win. You know what I mean?
Either us or Indiana, and I think more people would put money on them beating Indiana than us.
I agree with
point. But
I agree with that. Yeah,
I just want to go back. Yeah, so whoever the scheduling geniuses in the Big Ten, Michigan State is one of those teams that they kind of, they want them to be good. They're a good brand when they're good.
I like their logo. Their logo is kind of sick.
So senior day. It would be a really important year for Mel Tucker. What would be? They really wanted to give them a win on senior day, didn't they? By scheduling Nebraska. I mean, nobody thought we were going to be good this year. And around the time the schedule was made, they might have thought Scott Frost was still going to be our coach. So, I don't blame them for that. Yeah. But it's always a slight, isn't it? Whatever they senior day you or homecoming you. The homecoming one is the real slight. Senior day, I don't know if you have as much control over that. In Nebraska's case, you don't. It's going to be Iowa or it's going to be another team. Yeah, unless you have just the amount, unless you're really good, and it doesn't really matter who you schedule. Because some people like to schedule really when you're good, you schedule good teams on homecoming or senior day because the energy is going to be electric, But for the most
this is
part,
their last home game against us. They play at Ohio State, at Indiana, and then they have a neutral site game in Detroit, I believe, against Penn State. So they really voided their last home game, I assume, to do that. But anyway, so their offensive preview. So their quarterback, they've gone through a rotation of quarterbacks this year. But really the one that it seems like they're going to be sticking with for this game is a true freshman named Sam Leavitt. He's dangerous with his legs. But again, anything on Sam Leavitt is sort of man, he's only played a couple quarters. I don't even think he's strung a full game of football together. I mean, he has 65 yards on 11 carries, so that puts him at 5.9 yards per carry. They're really vanilla on offense, to be honest with you. They're going to run the read option. They're going to run QB draws with him. They're going to run play action. They're going to run
runs, passes, and
pro style,
and everything in between. Really,
no, but
really boring stuff sweeps on the edge, RPOs, just anything really.
No. I mean, I named 3 things: the read option, QB draws, and play action. So I mean, and then they really rely on their run game. He's only played in 3 games, by the way, Sam Leavitt, but they really rely on their run game. Nathan Carter, who's a transfer from UConn, actually. EJ Barthel coached him, which is kind of a little nugget. So he knows a lot about him. That won't give them any scheme advantage or anything, but he'll know.
He has weak ankles.
But he has 141 carries on the year so far for 609 yards. That puts him at 4.3 yards per carry, which is respectable.
Yeah.
It's not elite by any means, but it's maybe average to above average.
Anything over 3.5 is pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, I'm thinking elite. Elite is like 5 and over, really. Like
No,
the
for sure.
elite backs that you see, they're going to have at least 5. Pretty much. I believe Corum's at like 5.2, 5.3, and Donovan Edwards is at like 5.8 or something like that. But anyway, so Nathan Carter, 141 carries, 609 yards. He's their workhorse. EJ Barthel coached him. So offensive line. So they're above average in pass blocking, slightly above average. Every once in a while they'll get a playoff for, you know, moderate yard gainage in the pass game. But it's really like if you look at the stats, like they're like 43rd in offensive line pass blocking efficiency, which, you know, is above average. And then they are below average though in run blocking. It really seems like the running backs getting touched a lot behind the line, similar to the AG situation last year, to be honest with you, where Nathan Carter, I mean, that's a testament to him because he still has, you know, the 4.3 yards per carry with that situation. But our defense matches up well with them. They don't, to me, they don't have the weapons to really like give us something to think about. They're going to be, let me put it this way, they're going to be thinking a lot more than we are when their offense is out on the field. So yeah, their defense, I literally wrote this, average, but their D-line's probably their best unit, but our offense has a bunch of injuries. So
yeah,
it's a kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, if you go back to their offense just for 1 second, I just wanted to look at the total overall ratings, and we are just right in front of them. We're the 110th ranked offense, and they are the 111th.
Yeah, and you could say, I mean, like, what about turnovers? Could you look that up? Like just where the turnovers are on each one's, like how many?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Iowa is dead last offense. Dead last.
Yeah, we could talk about that on some extra news segment after the actual preview, but yeah. So our offense is highly inefficient because of the turnovers. Really, like the turnovers happen and it skews the stats bad, and it doesn't just skew the stats. It makes it to where like we just have numbers of drives that are just wasted completely, you know? So that's really what skews the stats more than anything. But you, as a Nebraska fan, somebody who's watched every game, you can't say, oh, but without the fumbles, because at this point it's become a bit of an epidemic problem for our team.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you look at it. Okay. So we're tied for 126th with Arizona State with a -9 turnover margin. Michigan State is 120th with a -7 turnover margin. So they've thrown 10 interceptions, lost 9 fumbles.
Yeah, and I think so far this freshman QB Levitt is responsible for 2 turnovers, I believe. I believe he had an interception and a strip sack fumble or something like that. So there's opportunities there. I mean, and our team is just now coming on. You know what I mean? We've looked at it. We're just now really like reaching our stride as a team.
They're playing with much more gusto. They're not playing, at least the past couple games, they're not playing like, ooh, let's not lose this game. They're playing to win. They're not playing not to lose.
Right.
And you can kind of see it. They're just kind of having fun.
Yeah.
Which is something that's been lacking for a long time.
No doubt. Well, they're playing like, when people talk about, it's a buzzword these days, but when people talk about a team that has an identity, what they really mean is like you as a player, I feel like, would look at it and be like, okay, how are we going to win this game? Like, what's our path to victory realistically? Like, you're there at practice every day. You know what the offense looks like. You know what the defense looks like. And with Scott Frost teams, it was like, okay, how is it going to happen? Is it going to be Adrian running? Is it going to be Austin Allen catching a clutch pass? Is it going to be, there was a number of ways it could happen, but you know, there wasn't like one way that you were like, we're going to run it down their throat and we're going to blah, blah, blah. With this team, it feels like the identity is, okay, we're going to come out and we're going to play lockdown defense. And we know we're going to do that because we've been doing it for months now. And they've seen it in practice too. And really, if you look back at the interviews through camp, you could see sort of like the defensive coach's confidence rising as camp goes along. And you can see sort of the offensive coach's confidence, not decreasing, but you can tell you can just tell based on their tone. But
Yeah.
anyway, so my point is this team has figured out what their identity is. They're going into the games knowing what the strategy is going to be. We're going to play lockdown defense, and our offense needs to have a couple drives a game. 2-3 very productive, time-consuming drives per game, and then don't give the ball away. That's all we really need to do. And even in the last game, I mean, look, we had 5 fumbles and we lost 4 of them, and we still won by 2 scores. I mean, so I don't know. This team's just got an identity now, and as a player, that really helps you because you're not trying to be something you're not. You know what I mean? You know what the strategy is going to be. You know what to expect when you go out there. They've strung a couple wins together. This is a very winnable game for Nebraska, and we've never played in the morning game at Michigan State before either. I don't believe so.
I mean, as far as I can remember, at least the past couple, they've been night games. Might have been, if there was one, it was probably in Bo's tenure.
The one I remember the most from Bo's tenure, of course, is the Jamal Turner, Taylor Martinez to Jamal Turner touchdown game. That was 2012, I believe, and that was a 2:30 game. So, yeah, that was a 2:30 game, and then
fair enough.
And then there was the game in 2014 or 2015. I think it was 2014. Yeah, where we were down by 1 score. Alonzo Moore could have almost caught the ball in the end zone. You remember that? Tommy Armstrong was quarterback. We almost beat him, didn't beat him. Then we beat him the next year, and that was a night game in Lincoln. So it just feels like every time we've played Michigan State's been. And then we had the morning game in Lincoln, that Frost won 9-6.
Yeah,
that was
the field goal bowl.
Yeah, that was one of the nastiest weather games I've ever seen. But yeah, so Michigan State, honestly, it's funny because when we first came into the Big Ten, it was sort of like, who are all these guys, you know? But especially a lot of the like mid-range teams, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but some of these, you know, Penn State and at the top of the mid-range, and then you know, Michigan State and Minnesota and all those types of teams that are respectable programs. I like playing them. You know, Michigan State, I like playing them. I think it's fun playing Michigan State, even though with the turmoil. When we first came in, I was missing playing K-State all the time, and Kansas and Iowa State and all those teams. But I like this league better, to be honest, now that we've been here for a while.
Well,
just brand-wise is what
okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, maybe not geography-wise, but brand-wise. I like the Midwest Southern region for football. That's a cool region. Football wise, but brand wise, I think I just like the Big Ten. It's a lot of respectable brands.
It is.
But yeah, so do you have some keys to the game now that we've finished the preview?
Honestly, not a lot of keys. Because like you said, there's not like one thing that we have to watch for. And I think if I was going to say one thing, I almost said if I were going to say one thing, would that work grammatically? No, it doesn't. Anyways, no, if there were to be one thing, it would probably be turnovers. If we're putting the ball on the ground and just shooting ourselves in the foot, then they can definitely beat us. They've shown that they can at least hold the fort down against teams. And if a team is in the mood to beat themselves, that's when you have upsets. So, I mean, from a couple of the games I've seen, they've actually hung around a couple of these games that turned out to be blowouts. They hung around for a little bit longer until the doors just came off of it.
You're talking about Michigan State?
Yeah, Michigan State, especially last week. They were definitely in a position to really beat Minnesota, really. So you go... Just don't turn it over the ball. Don't throw like stupid interceptions. Don't fumble the ball. And the defense should not come out flat. You know, but if they do, sometimes when you're going to face a middling offense, you don't show up as much. Now that's on the coaching staff to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But
have you been? Did you watch the one they released last night? The behind the
No, I
scenes
haven't had
video they released last night?
I haven't had a chance to. No.
Well, you've seen it up to this point. You've seen it enough up to this point, but you saw it again last night, and that's Tony White. When he has his defense before pregame, he's just a dog, man. He just screams. And I hate to put this out in the ether because we're on the internet, but we're Nebraska. We got to we got to recruit coaches just like we got to recruit players. He screams head coach to me, like just he really does. He's got a way about him that's like, yeah, that guy could lead a program for sure. He's really good with the guys, and he makes me want to run through a wall when he's giving his pregame speeches. So yeah, I think the keys to the game are really on Nebraska's side with the defense. They gotta show up regardless of who they're playing against, because they've proven that they can shut down this caliber of offense up to this point.
Yeah.
So go out and prove it again.
Yep.
Let's make it take it now. You can
come around, fly around the ball, maybe get a touchdown yourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing that you guys are able to tick off this week as far as goals go. So yeah, the defense has to show up, and the offense just needs to take care of the ball. And I think the rest will take care of itself.
I agree with that. With that. This has this has the slight chance it could be a really close, like slobber knocker hard game.
Oh, I think it's going to be.
I think it probably will be, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But there's also a chance there really is a chance Nebraska just shows the hell up, plays 4 quarters of FU football,
wouldn't
and
that
blows
be
them out of
nice?
the water. They could.
That would be very nice.
Yeah.
Not having a close game, just beating a team that you're supposed to.
Right.
But my guard is up only because of how cavalier everyone's being about the game. Right. Because it happens all the time. You think, oh, okay, well, that's a win. Everyone's talking about what bowl Nebraska's going to go to now. We haven't gotten bowl eligibility yet. I'm not counting anything before it comes to fruition.
I know.
And there's, I would love to be proven wrong, but it just to me feels like a trap.
Well, Sean Callahan said this the other day, and I couldn't have said it any better myself. He said, if there's anything that the Scott Frost era has taught me, it's to don't count your chickens before they hatch. You just don't. Because, you never know what's going to happen. You just never know. Yeah. So yeah, don't count your chickens before you hatch, and before you hatch. No,
before I hatch. After I hatch, I can count my chickens.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the actual prediction. What do we think is gonna happen? Do you want to go first?
Sure. For the most part, I think our defense comes to play. I think that our offense is going to cough up the ball at least one time in a precarious situation, give them good field position that will lead to a touchdown just because of where the ball is, and they have a play for that. So I think the final score, though, 17-10 Nebraska.
17-10. Man, I think our offense is starting to put it together a little bit. Matt Rule talked about the stages of development for a first-time quarterback at the college level, and he talked about how at first they might just be much better than you expect because they're just gaming, they're not thinking about much, and they're just seeing the open man throwing the ball to them, and then they get a little confidence and they start being like, okay, well, they're playing this defense, and which means I'm going to do that, and blah blah blah, and they almost overthink themselves out of a lot of things because of that way. And it gets to be this point where you need to settle in the knowledge that you have and play like it's not even you're not even thinking about it, and I relate to that as a musician because you can't think about what you're playing when you're playing, you know what I mean? If you're a high level musician, it's just a natural thing you do because you've practiced. And same thing as a quarterback, it's just the knowledge has got to be so second nature and innate in you about coverages, about reads, about all that stuff that you are just playing. And you do just process those things. Because the thing that nobody thinks about when playing quarterback at the D1 level is how tired you get. how tired you get.
Yeah.
I mean, you get so tired, and you still have to operate that offense at the same high level you do at the very beginning of the game. You got to tell everybody their job, make sure everybody's in the right spot, make sure you're in the right call for the right coverage, and you're just, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a settling in period that needs to happen whenever you're a first-time college quarterback. And I'm starting to sense that Heinrich is starting to settle in a little bit. So I think that our offense is going to come out and be better than we're expecting. I think that we'll only have 2 turnovers. and our defense will create more. So my bold prediction for the game, if we're just calling this segment predictions, one of my bold predictions for the game is that we'll be plus in the turnover margin for the first time this year.
That's risky.
That is a bold prediction. So my game prediction, though, is I think that we're going to win 31-7.
31-7.
31-7. I like the differentiation in our picks. 17-10 versus 31-7.
Well, I will say, I think as far as who's gotten closest to getting a score right this year, last week, my point total was perfect. They just needed 3, and we needed to not have that 3. So
28-17.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trade a 3 and you got it.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Trade a 3.
So you were close.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, mine was what, 24-17.
Yours was a little closer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They've just I think that they're going to be scheming for the Belly G option stuff now. I mean, like that. It's going to be a chess match, and I trust our coaches in those types of situations. And like I said, I just think Heinrich is settling in. You can just kind of see it in him a little bit.
You see it, and you see him overthinking, holding onto the ball a little bit more than he was.
Yeah, the sacks. A lot of the sacks were attributed to him because he just held on the ball for too long.
Yeah. No, and it's fair. I really want him to settle down, and I want the offense to just kind of click. I want that to happen, but I think that the team in general, it's either going to go one of 2 ways. They are going to just get to 6, and that's their goal, even though the rest of it's right there in front of them to take, really. Or they're going to keep going and keep going at the level that they have been, and just in terms of their confidence and their competitive and like nature and everything during the game, they're gonna just be locked in. So this is the game where we'll be able to see what the next couple ones, how they go, because we played two inferior opponents before this, in Illinois.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah. So if we keep going down this rabbit hole that we're hoping, and everyone's just kind of riding the coattails that this is it. This is the moment. It's going to be this game. If we come out and take care of business this game, then we'll know, hey, I think that we're finally turning the corner.
Yeah, like
we're not just close.
We'll all
We've
look
turned
at each
the
other
corner
and collectively say, like, okay, we got our guy. You know what I mean? Like, we all like Rule by this point. I think we've kind of established that he's a very charismatic person.
Yeah.
He's easy to like. But we've just been sort of crossing our fingers, waiting for that, like, definitive. And we sort of just got it. I mean, 3 games in a row, that hasn't happened in a long time. And if the season ended on a 4-game losing streak, at the end of the day, we'd look at it and be like, well, look, we won 3 games in 2021 and 4. Then 5. Now we're at 5. Okay, now next year we got to get to a bowl game. You know what I mean? We'd still be there.
Yes, but I would be a lot more disappointed.
I completely agree with you. I mean, but based on the injuries we've had on offense and everything that everything is entailed, like, if we win this game, we'll all look at each other and collectively be like, I think we got our guy. And the other thing I wanted to mention, you talked about, this is going to be the moment where the team either, rises up or they regress back to the mean, and my coach always used to say, my high school football coach, Coach Roberts, shout out Coach Roberts. He always used to say, you're always either getting better or you're getting worse. He always used to say that. And for
a lot
Nebraska,
of coaches, I think.
Yeah, a lot of coaches. That's a coach speak thing. But I mean, every day, constantly, you're always either getting better or you're getting worse. But I think Nebraska's on that getting better trajectory.
Yeah.
I really do think that they are.
Yeah.
And with good coaching and with good culture and with big trajectory, sometimes it's exponential. And I think maybe our offense could really come out this week and be like, Husker Nation, we're making
Let's
a run
ride.
at it, baby. Husker Nation, let's ride. No, I do not want to be associated with Russell Wilson right now. No offense. But anyway, so those are our predictions. We have one more item to talk about for the podcast today. And that was a piece of news that happened earlier today. I do want to touch on it real quick. And that is that the Big Ten and just schedule for 2024 has been announced. So I'll go ahead and pull it up. Hang on.
I thought that came out a while ago.
No.
Not like a while ago.
No, the actual dates, like the dates and order of all the games. So like this is the actual schedule. The actual schedule.
Not just the teams you're playing?
Not just the teams you're playing. So this is what it looks like. So August 31st, home game, UTEP. August 7th, or September 7th, home game, Colorado. September 14th, home game, Northern Iowa. September 21st, home game, Illinois. And then 28th, first away game at Purdue. October 5th, home game, Rutgers. And we got a bye. At Indiana, October 19th. October 26th, at Ohio State. And then UCLA at home. Bye. At USC. Wisconsin at home. At Iowa. So, it's definitely a crazy stretch from October, November area.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But all things considered, based on what we've done the last couple of years, opening with a conference opponent, and we've harped on this show, how sucky that has been. It's great to open at home against UTEP, isn't it? Praise the Lord. I mean, like, and it's not BYU, it's not, Fresno State. I mean, it's UTEP. I'm sorry, like, great. Fantastic. And then Colorado, we're going to get Prime at home in his second year. And who knows if he'll have the trenches figured out by then. But Matt Rule certainly will. I think I have confidence in that at this point, especially by next year with some of the young guys he's bringing in. But yeah, that back stretch starting October 26th at Ohio State.
No, you look at it and you think, okay, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look, if we keep going on that trajectory, the schedule from the 31st to October 26th, we should win all those games.
Yeah.
We should win all those games. And then you could go into an Ohio State undefeated.
Let me ask you this. This is an interesting question. Between Ohio State, UCLA, USC, and Wisconsin, what's the easiest game?
USC will have a new defensive coordinator, so they'll probably have a better defense next year.
Maybe Tony White.
I think that we're gonna sell out to keep that guy when he draws interest.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's just a California-based guy. That's a big Polynesian hub, and that's his thing. And they need a DC, and he's just been good everywhere. So
but does Tony White want to be the guy that hops from job to job to job?
I mean, hopping from job to job is great if you keep getting raises and promotions. Like anybody would.
He's already
an
assistant head coach.
And a promotion.
He's already assistant head coach.
I completely agree with that.
I don't think
that
Lincoln
assistant head coach at USC.
Yeah.
In the LA market, like it just is.
I don't think that. Yeah, but I don't think that makes a difference now because of where USC is going to be next year. They're going to be in the Big Ten. I don't think that plays as much as a part as you think it does.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think USC is the easiest game.
I do.
I think they're still not going to have their defense figured out. I think that the Lincoln Riley situation is gonna turn into a little bit of a like, holy crap, he was the biggest thing in college football at one point. What the heck happened over there? You know what I mean? I really do.
When he doesn't have Caleb Williams to bail him out too.
Sure, exactly. Caleb Williams is one of the best college football players I've ever seen, and they're still like, you know what I mean? Like, but he's been a head coach at this point for close to 10 years. 2015 is, I believe, when he took over for Stoops. And it's his track record is proven. They've never had good defense with Lincoln Riley. And I'll tell you a big factor why. A big factor why is because Lincoln Riley is basically Scott Frost, but more polished, a better offensive coordinator by most people's accounts. But they run a very similar offense. It's fast paced. It's high octane. It's moving fast. And when you're practicing all fall camp against a team that does that, yeah, you get really well conditioned, but sometimes you don't have an opportunity to really like fine tune some technique things and some scheme things with your defense. And if you look at the track record, this was a Bill Bush point, by the way. He could eloquent it much more eloquently than me. He could talk
Eloquent. Yes,
yeah,
he could eloquent it better.
Yeah, he could. He'd be eloquent in here, eloquent over there. But if you look at the track record of teams that run those fast, high octane offenses, it's very rare that they also have an elite defense to go with it. I think that it's more of a system problem than it is a coordinator problem. I really do.
No, you're right, because most teams, the best teams, have it balanced on both sides. It's not one or the other. Like,
and you have to be in the Big Ten, brother. You have to be balanced in the Big Ten.
But my answer is UCLA.
Okay, fair.
You asked me a while ago. My answer is UCLA. We just never got to it.
Yeah, we never did.
Because I got you on the tangent of
on USC. Yeah,
but yeah, I think so.
Why UCLA? Because you're an Eagles fan and Chip has left
I
a
just
bad
can't
taste
get
in your
scared.
mouth?
I can't get scared of Chip Kelly. Can anybody get scared of Chip Kelly? No, he's at UCLA and he's been playing in the Pac-12. He's had 2 decent teams in a row, but they always fold whenever it gets tough. No.
You're right about that, but they've looked pretty impressive for UCLA.
I'm not saying they're bad. No,
and they have Dante Moore, who's a really young quarterback who's really, really promising. I don't know. I just think that, again, he runs that high octane offense, but Chip Kelly has learned to adapt a little bit as his career has gone on. They run a little bit different, slightly different stuff at UCLA than they did when he was at Oregon, for an example. And I think that Chip Kelly is smart enough. He's been in the NFL where he'll be able to look at the Big Ten and be like, okay, like here's my tools. Here's what I got to work with. Here's how we need to play. Because, I mean, we're not going to be able to score this many points on Iowa. We're just not. We're not going to be able to score this many points in Nebraska. We're just not. Wisconsin, we're just not. These teams that generally have good defenses every year.
But UCLA has to come to Lincoln to play in November.
Fair.
We go to USC. So
I have a bad taste in my mouth from playing UCLA in the mid 20 teens, losing to them twice.
I went and saw them.
Yeah,
beat us in Lincoln. I guess 10 years ago. So
yeah,
I know it's possible, but that was also a September game, and I don't know what happened. There was some juju that happened at halftime. You could feel the energy suck out of the stadium, and you were just like, "What happened?"
Really?
Then, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, because we were winning, right?
Yeah. We were winning going in half.
And we were wearing those badass black jerseys.
We were. I think I think they had like a really good drive right before half, and it just kind of sucked the wind out of us. And I just never regained it. But yeah, the schedule just in general, very favorable.
I think one thing's for certain, it's awesome. Point number one that we've already made. It's awesome that we play a group of 5 team at home for the first game.
Yeah.
Point number 2, look, 2 bye weeks. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah. That's always cool. Sean Callahan was explaining this earlier. It's because 2 out of every 7 years you have 14 weeks between Labor Day and championship week. Yeah, and these have been the 2 years. This year, I believe, or next year and the year after that. Anyway, so there'll be 2 bye weeks. And I think we can, and point number 3, I think we can both agree that at Columbus, at Ohio State, is the toughest game on that schedule. I think we can both agree.
I think so. I don't know. I think leaving to I almost said the orphans, the cancer kids is pretty tough too.
Who are we talking about? Are we talking about Iowa? Because that's
Iowa.
messed up. That's messed up. Okay. Well, speaking of Iowa, it's kind of one more piece of news we could harp on real quick. So they have an interim AD, a girl, a lady named Beth. Interim AD.
Beth Hawkeye.
Interim AD.
That was really eloquent of you.
Interim. Beth Getz. Yeah, Beth Getz. So she announced that Brian Ferentz would not be returning to Iowa after the season. He's staying on their staff through bowl season, but he's not being allowed to return. So from Kirk Ferentz's perspective, his boss just fired his son and really kind of brought shame a little bit to the Ferentz legacy and name at the same time.
Honestly, he should have been let go last year.
He should have.
And yeah, it was.
Well,
he should never. Well, and he should have never gotten that contract.
Well, nepotism laws.
Oh,
There's
man.
nepotism laws, which were put in place, which means that Brian couldn't report directly to Kirk with matters relating to his employment, and so he had a different boss than everybody else, basically. So yeah, he's not going to be on the staff. We'll see what happens. This really feels like the beginnings of someone else is going to be the coach at Iowa the next couple years. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how. I don't know if it'll be Kirk retiring, if they'll sort of come to an agreement and he'll quote unquote retire, and they'll probably backdoor pay him half of his buyout or something like that, because he has like a $50 million buyout in his current contract. But yeah, so it's an interesting situation at Iowa, to say the least. I'm sort of sad that Brian Ferentz got fired because he was awful, and I wanted him to be their coordinator for the rest of time. I wanted him to become the head coach. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was prime for it. He was perfect.
Yeah. Perfect.
He's perfect.
R.I.P. Brian.
R.I.P. Brian at Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were bad. I remember the first couple of games, and everyone was like, I think, they look a lot better. They've much improved. I mean, he did lose his starting quarterback a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and the backup, and their backup, and the backup of the backup, which the third string at the beginning of the year, he's 280 pounds.
Yeah,
Deacon Hill, 280 pounds. It's
okay, you gotta just figure. Okay, it's just like, get this guy out of here.
Like, there's two aspects to being a college coach. Okay, it's coaching, it's getting your guys in the position to succeed on the field, and it is recruiting. So like, when it gets down to a personnel problem, if you've been there for more than a couple years, you got to look at the guy and say, well, Brian, you recruited a 280-pound quarterback, so that's why you're working with that guy right now. so like,
sure,
he deserved to be fired. I understand from an Iowa fan's perspective. I understand them being happy about it.
What I was saying, I knew they were bad. I knew they had lost a couple quarterbacks or whatever, but when we just saw, like, in the earlier, they were 130, they're dead last in offensive efficient, total offense. Dead last. I knew it was bad, but like, I didn't know it was worse than us.
Right. And it sort of like got that way slowly because we knew Iowa as a team that like wasn't going to have the flashiest offense, but like their defense is always really good, and their offense could kind of just do enough to win them the game, and in some cases even keep the ball for long enough and have some productive drives and maybe blow you out if you're not very good. And that was before Brian Ferentz came on board. They were like usually hovered around the 70s. Total offense was like a great year for them. 70s, high 60s, 70s to like the 90s. Was a bad year. Then Brian has been there for 5 years or something like that. And his first year they were like 110, and then like 117, then like 127, 126, 127. Now they're like 130. They're like they went down bad fast. And it's so from an Iowa fan, if you're from an Iowa fan's perspective, if Iowa fans are listening, I feel your pain and understand why you'd be happy that he just got fired. From a Nebraska fan's perspective, man, I wanted him to be y'all's athletic director of it. I wanted him to have a statue outside of the place eventually for winning 8 games a year.
Yeah, I mean, what they're at 6-1.
Yeah, 6-2. 6-2. Yeah, 6-2. So that's the crazy part about it is they're having a very typical Iowa year where they're winning most of the games that they're supposed to win. They're dropping a few here and there, but like they're really in contention for the Big Ten West. Yeah. And here's one other thing I want to say is I don't even want to talk about like contending for the Big Ten West in really any seriousness on this show until we beat Maryland, if we beat Maryland. Yeah. At least that point. Because by that point, it's like we got 2 games left. It's a real possibility if we.
It's 2 games left, and it's 2 teams that we always play hard.
Right.
So,
so I don't want to talk about it. But that being said, one tweet that I saw that like encapsulated it perfectly was like the Big Ten West, like and how bad it has been the bane of our existence forever as Nebraska fans because we know we're better than this. We know we're better than them. And if we can like be this down bad for this long in the Big Ten West, and then in the very last year of the division win it, we will be the eternal reigning Big Ten West champions, which is epic.
That would be funny.
We're the champions forever of the Big Ten West.
That is funny. That is funny. Not gonna happen, but that is funny.
Yeah. I'm not gonna knocking on wood. Don't even want to jinx nothing. We didn't say anything about it was gonna happen, but no, I just thought that was hilarious. Like,
I do want this little asterisk here at the end though for my prediction. Initially, I did have us losing this game. So, so I had us losing this game. So I just did want to throw that out there. But I think that is going to be it for us today on the Cornhusker Corner. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can follow us on Twitter, X at @CHusker_corner. And Instagram Cornhusker Corner. Always remember that there's no place like this